Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about when you find out your ex is dating someone new.
Could be like your worst fears coming true.
It really feels like the end of the world when you see your ex posting about somebody online, or you see something's changed on their status, or you hear something.
Yeah, it could be really terrifying, and you're waiting for that next move. What's going to happen? Are they going to be together forever? You start asking yourself these extreme questions.
Yeah, that's the big thing that I think most of us fear, and what you're going through is that absolute terror that this is the new person that's replaced you, and they are going to be there forever, and that's it. It's over. Final. Right?
Yeah. And the first thing you want to do is be able to acknowledge your feelings in this, because a lot of times we jump ahead and we're trying to get the answers to questions that we don't even know if they're relevant or not. So maybe you're shocked. Maybe you are feeling fear and overwhelm. Maybe you are feeling a sense of betrayal, even if we know it might not be betrayal. Maybe they met this person after the two of you broke up, hopefully.
Yeah.
It can still be this sense of, man, I was just so attached to this person. How can they shift gears and move on to someone else so quickly? So acknowledging that feeling. Maybe it's bringing out insecurity. You're saying, well, who is this person? What are they like? Do they like that other person better? And
you're doing a lot of comparing.
A lot of comparing. Not a lot of people like to think about their ex with anybody, with somebody they love with anybody else. Some people do, but that's for a different video.
That's a whole different set of group. That's a whole different group of people right there.
Exactly. So it's hard to see your ex with someone else. It's hard to see someone you love in the arms of another.
A lot of people get really angry and they'll say to themselves, well, that's it. I'm done. I'm never going to date them again. I'm never going to date somebody else again. And that's fine if you have that mindset. You can do whatever you want to do. I just would have you think, okay, well, what if you don't find somebody new for 6 months or a year, and the next person you date winds up hooking up with 3 or 4 other people, right? Before you're dating this new person, right? This new person that you date a year from now has dated 6 people and since then. You see what I mean? Like, it's kind of like something to consider, at least.
I could see it, but once you've tasted my glory, if you stray, you cannot come back.
Well, a lot of people feel like that, and they're so hurt and angry in that moment that they really do feel like that for a while, and that's totally understandable. Like I said, if you want to live like that, that's totally fine. If that's your mindset, that's okay. But also consider the other side of it.
Yeah, and it's important to examine yourself, because if you're able to acknowledge your feelings, then you might be trying to make decisions out of what you're feeling in the moment, out of that anger. Some of you find out that your ex is talking to someone or dating someone, and then right then you have the impulse to reach out and say your piece. So
or rub it in their face, or be like, you told me. Okay, we got it. We just talked about this right before we sat down. We had a client, I don't think you've done a call with him. Maybe you did a long time ago. That he just reached out and said, we'd done a bunch of calls together over the years, and he recently did an email coaching with me, and we suspected there was somebody else in the background, and through his investigative journalism,
I was impressed.
I was impressed. It was crazy, right? We've never seen this one before. I'm not going to say what it was. Let's just say his social media stalking was top notch, right?
This is not to encourage you all.
No, but he basically saw his ex with someone else when she had implied that she wasn't wanting a relationship right now and she wasn't ready for. So now he's really hurt and he's really angry, and he's kind of just like, I can't believe she lied to me about this. Now, mind you, they were broken up. And they were kind of starting to hang out again. So it's not like she was technically cheating. But it makes you so angry and hurt that you're just like, right now, you're just done. You just feel over it.
Yeah.
In a way. But then you can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, if she reaches out, 4 months from now, 5 months from now, will he still feel that same way?
Yeah, and that's why it's important to examine yourself. You might be feeling something intensely in the moment, but not really thinking through, okay, well, really, what are my values here? What's really important to me? And how might I feel in a couple months?
Yeah, I mean, if it's somebody that you truly love, are you willing to walk away from a situation because they date somebody else? I mean, look at it this way. what about if you broke up with somebody and then you went and dated somebody else for a while, let's say 4 months, 5 months or whatever, and then you ended it and you think about your ex and you think, you know what? I really do love this person. I do really miss this person. Do you think you should have less value for them as a person because you dated somebody new? Because a lot of people have this mindset of like, oh, they're less valuable now. Like they, you know what I mean? Like they're less of a person.
Yeah.
But would you see yourself as less of a person because you dated somebody else? Probably not, right? So you got to kind of think about that. And it's just some perspective so you're not so hostile about somebody dating someone else.
Yeah. And I could see that coming from the perspective of being in another relationship. It's like that person takes that love away. It's coming from a very scarce kind of mentality. However, I'll say when I hear that sentiment from clients, a lot of times it's because they can't fathom being with someone else. So they're like, I can't even imagine the idea of being in a relationship right now or entertaining something with someone right now. And so to think that their ex is able to move on so easily, you know, that's the really painful part. And even if it's not betrayal, it feels like it. So that is what I find is the hard part for a lot of people to get over, which, yeah. And for some people, it can also be value-based too. You know, if you had planned on just being with one person, you know, that could be something that's difficult. There's cultural things around that too. But it is important to ask yourself, what's at the core of the fear here? Are you worried that because they're dating somebody else, you're in a worse off position in terms of now they're, you know, riding off into the sunset with Prince Charming or Princess Charming or Royalty Charming?
Sure, that's what it feels like.
And
it
we'll
really
be in that situation.
Yeah, I remember talking to Margaret about that all the time. And she would keep saying, they're not going to run off into the sunset together. It's not going to happen. And I had such a hard time believing it. But now after doing this for so many years, you know, it makes me think of what we just talked about the other day. If you're single, 100% of your relationships have failed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, I think the level of, or the percentage of relationships that fail are extremely high. And so what is the likelihood that they are the magical person?
Yeah.
They had issues with you. They weren't perfect with you. That means they're probably not going to be perfect with them. And that new person isn't going to be perfect with them over time.
Yeah. And you might worry that they'll forget about you if they're in this new relationship. It's kind of like the breakup can feel more final. Those feelings of grief from when the breakup had originally happened can start to resurface. It's like you're reliving the breakup.
Yeah.
That could be really hard.
Well, I think when somebody starts dating somebody new, it kind of does soften the blow. Like the breakup isn't as painful because they have this new person.
You're saying for them. Yeah.
Yeah, for the person that is dating the new person, right? The ex.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit easier because it's like they have somebody new. They think it's going to be perfect and magical, and they're in this bubble fantasy land. But then when that bubble bursts, now it's like, whoa. Now I just had 2 failed relationships, and they often think about their ex.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I want to talk a little bit about the comparison trap, because this is something that a lot of people fall into. And it's interesting because on calls, I can see when you start talking about the person that your ex is dating, it's kind of like this very niche reference, but it's kind of like that very viral video of the man on the street that's like, he's whack, his hair is whack, his outfit's whack. He just says everything is whack. You know, so I could hear the just negativity about that other person. We don't know who that other person is, but I'm going to tell you, remember who you are. Let's start there. Sometimes we get so involved in who this other person is that we lose ourselves in that.
Beaky Buzzard!
Yeah, just like that, just like Beaky Buzzard. Do you want to share that story?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
maybe some people don't know the lore.
I've talked about when the Applebee's girl and I broke up. She started dating this guy, and he looked like Beaky Buzzard, the goofy buzzard from Bugs Bunny. And I've showed you pictures.
Yeah,
you know I'm not lying. He literally looked like a cartoon character. It was ridiculous. I was like, what is happening? I couldn't even believe it. So I like to give nicknames.
Maybe he was a really kind guy, you know?
No, I heard he was really goofy and immature.
Well, hopefully he's mature.
From someone that worked with my ex.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And she this friend couldn't believe that she would date this guy.
Wow.
But I think that was reflective that she was only 23 years old. and she was wanting to be young and single because she had never been able to do that, right? She got married very young, and so that was part of what she needed to do to individuate. And so I've done this for a long time now, so it's totally understandable. But at the time, it was just unthinkable. Like, everybody that knew me and her couldn't believe we broke up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Shocking. And then when you see who it is, you're just like, what?
Trying to wrap your mind around it.
You can't. It's impossible. Even with Margaret's help.
People are watching for breakup advice, but they're staying for the tea. So
enjoy both.
What happened?
Enjoy both. I've talked about it many times.
Yeah, you have. You have. My point here is remembering who you are and not falling into that trap of thinking about who your ex is choosing. I think it's a very human thing to want to be chosen. And when you're not the person that's chosen, it can hurt. I think it brings up a lot of rejection wounds, a lot of wounds that many of us have from childhood, of not being picked for the soccer team or, not being chosen to, I don't know, pin the tail on the donkey or things that
was a rough one for you, wasn't it?
That was. I really wanted to pin that tail. But these bring up very deep and very human wounds of not good enoughness. And so we wonder, does that new person love them as much as I did, or like me as much as they like this new person? And it's normal to have these thoughts. We have to be able to see these thoughts, acknowledge them. The more we try to resist them, sometimes the more present they can be. And remind yourself more of what makes you you. So the elements that not only attracted your ex, but the parts of yourself that you yourself like. What do you like about yourself? Margaret used to do this exercise with a lot of clients where she would just ask very simply, what are 10 things you like about yourself? And it sounds like a very simple, almost like childish-like intervention, but it's really effective, because you think about, okay, what are some of the things that I appreciate about myself, regardless of if other people see that? What is cool about living the life in this body, in this, consciousness? So,
yeah, and there's a lot of activities like that when you do the creative healing course, especially to put words to these things, to work through it, to process it. Because if you don't, and your ex comes back, I have seen so many people that are still so angry and resentful that even though they get their ex back, they blow it because they're so angry. They haven't processed any of the hurt of them dating somebody else, or, not just coming back to them without exploring what else is out there first. It can lead to a lot of hurt and resentment, and then another breakup.
Right.
I've seen that quite a few times, and they'll even get back together for a while, but they keep fighting, and because you're so resentful about what happened that you keep bringing it up. That's why you got to do the work. You have to process this stuff. You have to put words to it, figure out how you feel about it, and you have to let it go if you're going to repair something with somebody. Otherwise, you're just going to break up again.
Yeah. And it's hard. Sometimes we have this idea of letting things go is like stifling it down or suppressing it. But really, it's similar to a lot of other things in life. We just grow stronger. We grow more ability to cope with things. So when we're thinking about comparison, worst fears coming true, your ex being with someone new, it's not so much trying to minimize them, Craig, and Beaky Buzzard.
Beaky. I want to say something other than buzzard. Beaky.
Oh. People who are here for the tea are tuning in. No, but it's more about being able to build up your own self-confidence, the things that you like about yourself, the things that you want to improve about yourself, what's enjoyable about being you. Building confidence in those areas makes everything else pale in comparison.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's very difficult to go through this feeling of your ex being with somebody else. It hurts on so many different levels. It makes your breakup more painful. It makes it feel more final. And it's not. It's not necessarily more final. Because a lot of times your ex is going to reach back out after that breakup with that new person. But if you haven't processed it, you're going to be so hurt and angry. It's going to be hard to be close to them again or trust them again or not like look at them as less valuable in your mind, right? People
Yeah.
do that a lot.
Yeah. And, it's up to you to make the decision if your ex is dating someone new, if you would still consider them. For some of you, them dating somebody new might be to your benefit. They might date somebody new and realize, oh my gosh, other people have issues too. I've jumped into this way too soon.
That is very true.
And it might be in your favor. However, I would say keep your eyes open. Notice how your ex responds and reacts in a breakup and consider these things. If your ex is very impulsive after the breakup and, making decisions involving other people, things can get a little bit messier. So just be aware, observe, and make informed decisions.
All right. It's a lot to think about, and it's a lot to feel and experience. I've been there myself. It's tough. So process it, deal with it, talk about it. All right. Hopefully this one's been helpful for you. If you'd like to get our help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.